Tom, the transfer portal has been a question. NIL, we've kind of been talking about this morning as we welcome you in here on a Tuesday. Reports out there right now that Jalen Braxton, Nico Davier, Luke Haz, and then Patrick Kudus, Memphis native, all might be taking a look towards Oxford, Mississippi, Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin. What do you think about not just the guys that have entered the portal, but the possibility of then ended up at other SEC schools?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I've seen that too, and it's it's disappointing if you're a Razorback fan that some of your best talent, some of your starters, could follow Pooh Paul. That was a little bit of a groundbreaker to go from a division rival to the other, and Pooh had a pretty good year, a really good year. And I just heard the call that you guys had, and it's fascinating conversation about where Arkansas is financially, behind other schools in NIL, and then just in their basic overall war chest that it's not financially responsible. I think it might be the best way to put it, to make a complete regime change right now. So there's a lot of frustration among the fans. Arkansas's got all these guys in the portal. Guys that you thought might be, stick with the deal. But obviously for someone like Luke Haz, wasn't targeted early in the season, and he was later, but maybe he feels like, A, he can be a more vital part of an offense somewhere, and B, make more money doing it. It's hard to turn that down. So I get it. A lot of frustration, and Arkansas seems to have some of the higher numbers among all the schools in the portal right now.
Our conversation with Tom Murphy, always brought to you by our friends at the Arkansas Beef Council. We'll tell you more about them coming up. But Tom, on the quote-unquote war chest, am I on to something? Like, do you think NIL seems to be a struggle, but what do you think overall? Athletics department, Razorback Foundation, it all seems to be lumped into one when it comes to having this discussion. Where do you think the university's finances are with the athletics department right now?
Well, I've just heard various folks talk about how, the revenues last year were 175 million, and they spent, very close to that, and so I don't know if they're well positioned to make a major deal like the Jimbo buyout. They couldn't do anything like that.
No,
and so it's just a tough situation, and do they need to get more donors and more NIL money? Yeah, they do if they're going to compete. And I agree with you that the basketball is a little bit easier. They have a massive NIL budget for basketball, and some think maybe the most in the country, but it's a different beast than trying to fund an entire football team. And so, they were competitive some games, beat Tennessee, But the one-loss games or the one-score losses are the real frustration for so many fans. And then I would think that players going into the portal right now is some kind of combination of playing time, relationships among the players and staff, and then NIL. There's all these factors now that weigh in to why someone would do that. So. Yeah, it is a rough time if you're a UA football fan to think, where's the bright spot? Where's the silver lining? Well, the class, there's it sounds to me like some players in this class, but yet it was still ranked, 14th among SEC schools. That's a big number of freshmen to be bringing in. So maybe they just have to, Sam says he wants to go player for player in the portal, so that means bringing in a pretty strong number of players from the portal to go along with a class, and maybe they just need to start biting the bullet and playing more freshmen, more playing time, like a Bradley Shaw or like a Jalen Braxton last year, or Selman Bridges this year. Just bite the bullet, play them more often. I don't know what the ultimate solution is, but you got to be able to retain players better than what they have the last 2 years.
Tom Murphy writes for Whole Hog Sports in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. He joins us every single Tuesday around 10 o'clock. Tom, when you think about the upcoming Liberty Bowl, I know that a question that a lot of fans are mulling over if they live in the central or eastern part of our state. It's like, who am I going to see play? We're seeing guys enter the portal daily. Like that seems to be the biggest question for fans contemplating going or not. Is like, what kind of team am I going to watch Friday night on December the 27th?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. And I think Sam stated the number 9 starters were not there for the Liberty Bowl 2 years ago. So it's going to be similar to that. I mean, guys like Quincy Rose, Ian Gaffard, you're going to see some younger wide receivers get chance. Jordan Anthony will obviously get more run. And
we got to see
you go down.
That year, Tom, we got to see Quincy McAdoo, who I know is no longer on the team, but that was where he kept standing out at the end of the season in a game like that, too.
He did. I mean, he had a crunching hit in that game, and then he had the targeting call that was, basically overruled by the SEC office that would have ended the game. Imagine if they had lost that game after a bad targeting call. So, yeah, we're going to see younger guys at so many different positions in defensive backfield, D-line. There's going to be some young guys that will have to get playing time on the O-line, receiving core. Going to be a pretty massive, and then the tight ends too. They'll be low in numbers there. So their pass catchers, the numbers are down for this bowl game.
Tom, what about tonight? Arkansas, Michigan, Madison Square Garden. Tommy's there. There's a few other Razorback fans. I say a few other. It sounds like, according to Chuck, there's a decent amount of Arkansas fans that have made the trip. This was a great Elite Eight game back in 1994. They played a few times since. What's your kind of read on tonight's game at 8 o'clock on ESPN?
Yeah, I got a lot of takes. First of all, they got to defend 2 7-footers, and they're not big-time scorers. They're solid, but just in the pick and roll game, they're good at it. They rebound. So, Arkansas's got a lot to defend. It's a veteran, and it's a very tall Michigan team. So Arkansas, the second half of the Miami game, they had a certain offensive flow, and I thought, okay, they're starting to get it. But then the first half of San Antonio, it would just look lethargic. It looks like people are tentative, and so to get that rhythm going, where players know where their teammates are, where they're driving hard to the hole. Maybe we'll see more of that. They're going to need it. This is a tough game, and like Cal said the other day after the UTSA game, you look across the SEC, there are some great teams out. You look around and you say, where are you going to get wins? There are so many really good teams in the SEC this year.
Think about the bottom half, at least projected by the media. I mean, Vanderbilt's won a couple Power 4 conference games. Oklahoma won the battle for Atlantis. There's one other team that was picked low that's had a successful season thus far. So, Tom, you're exactly right. It is going to be a brutal upcoming couple months in the Southeastern Conference in basketball. Typically, we think football, but, man, basketball has really elevated itself when it comes to that discussion. Tom Murphy again with us, brought to you by the Arkansas Beef Council here this morning. Tom, we saw the college football playoff selection show right before the NFL slate got going at 12. Only 3 SEC teams. Greg Sankey and his staff, if they're looking at that, why the heck are you moving to 9 games if it was so cannibalistic this year? Wouldn't it even be more like that in 2026 if they moved to 9 games?
I think so. I mean, look, I think the committee probably felt it would be a dangerous precedent to leave out SMU, a team that made its championship game, that had 1 loss going into that, over these 3-loss SEC teams. That's what I struggle with my AP vote every week. I was comparing, as the season progressed along, 1-loss SEC teams versus unbeaten Big Ten and so on. 2-loss SEC teams versus 1-loss other conferences. And in the final determination, 3-loss teams, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, against 2-loss, SMU and Miami. And I agree with you. Why would the SEC do it to itself, make a 9-game conference schedule when all it's going to do is lead to more losses? Yep. So I don't see them embracing that, and they're going to have to make a decision pretty quick on what that 25 schedule looks like. And I think the order, the actual slate of SEC games for next year is going to come out pretty soon, this week, I believe.
Tom, we'll leave it there. That's news that I did not know. Hopefully that's the case. I'd like to see what those games are set up for next week. Appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll chat a little bit more on Thursday and talk about this game tonight.
Sounds good. See you.
All right, always great stuff from our friend Tom Murphy, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.